All right, let's jump right into this explainer of Siddha Vedam, specifically Chapter 4, which is known as Shrishti, Ishwara Seva, and Moksham. In this one, we're exploring a seriously profound idea: the possibility that everything we think we know about physical reality might actually be completely upside down. We are going to unpack a fascinating text today, one that challenges our deepest assumptions about the physical world, the true nature of learning, and where the universe actually comes from.
So, we're kicking things off with a massive question. I mean, philosophers and sages have debated this for centuries. Do we live inside of the physical universe? Or does the universe actually originate from a tiny spark inside of us? Like, are you just a small speck in a giant cosmos? Or is the cosmos a projection coming out of you? This is the central mystery that Siddha Vedam tackles.
All right, part 1, Rethinking the Elements, the Metaphysical Panchabhuta. Let's challenge the common belief about how the world is made. You know the standard thinking, right? Earth, water, fire, air, and ether. They all combine to create physical life. But the text points out a pretty massive logical flaw here. Think about it. If our bodies were just physical mixtures of these 5 elements, simply stopping our breath wouldn't kill us. Why? Because the fire, the earth, and the water are still sitting right there in the physical body. Plus, if we were truly just an alloy of physical elements, our bodies would decay all at once, not lose air first, then lose heat, and so on. So these elements literally cannot just be physical building blocks. Now, if we map these 5 elements out, we see they aren't physical matter at all. Instead, they represent 5 internal metaphysical states of consciousness that exist within us. The progression is super interesting. It starts at the very top with ether, or akasa, which represents the divine eternal light. That energy then flows down and vibrates as air, or sivam, which is our life essence. From that vibration comes fire, representing the glow of life. From that glow arises water, which represents the pervading mind. And finally, we get to earth, or prithvi, which is actually ahamkara, the ego. And it's this ego that creates the so-called physical world we experience. So the crucial takeaway here is that this whole outer world we see, it literally only exists because our inner energy is flowing outward through these 5 states. It's entirely a conception. The text actually points out that when we're in a deep sleep, the world completely vanishes for us, right? That's because our energy is concentrated inward. It's only when we wake up and that energy spreads outward through the mind and the ego that the world suddenly appears. Moving on to part 2, the inner light, the lamp and the chimney analogy. To make all these abstract, metaphysical states a bit more tangible, the text uses this absolutely brilliant visual analogy. It compares the human body to a table lamp. In this analogy, your inner life force is the burning wick. But, a wick burning on its own just scatters its light everywhere. To create a bright, focused beam, you need a glass chimney. That transparent chimney is your ego, the I in you, projecting the light out to create your reality. But here's the catch. A burning wick also produces smoke. And in this context, the smoke represents all your surging thoughts and worldly desires. And we really have to pay close attention to this smoke. I mean, think about a real lamp. What happens if the top of the chimney is blocked off and the smoke has absolutely nowhere to go? It starts to build up and accumulate inside the glass. And this is a wild way to look at it, but it shows that when our mental chimney gets completely clogged up with the smoke of our desires, the inner light is literally extinguished. The thoughts cloud the mind so thoroughly that the life force is choked out. When that inner flame goes out, the body loses its heat and grows cold. And according to the text, this is the actual true mechanism of what we experience as death. All right, part 3, Beyond Books, the true meaning of learning. So if the real goal is to keep that inner light burning brightly, how do we actually learn about it? Well, the teacher uses this great, kind of funny analogy. Imagine someone grows a banana tree, harvests a banana, eats it, and then writes down their experience. If you just sit there and read what they wrote on a piece of paper, do you actually know what the banana tastes like? No way. Just like reading about a banana doesn't let you taste it, reading philosophical texts without having the inner experience yourself is totally useless. The sages who wrote the ancient texts experienced the truth firsthand. But today, scholars just read the books, completely misunderstand the words, and end up fighting with each other like dogs over an empty plate, which is a pretty tragic but spot-on way to look at modern academic debate. Which brings us to the concept of true aksharabhyasa. Normally, you'd hear this word used for a kid's first lesson in learning the alphabet, but the text totally redefines it.
When you speak out loud to recite the alphabet, your energy is forced outward, and that outward expenditure actually leads to decay. But the word akshara literally translates to that which has no decay. Because of that, true study isn't reciting the alphabet out loud at all. True aksharabhyasa is turning your energy inward to study the undecaying self. This takes us to part 4, the inner shrine, how the small creates the vast. This whole inward focus totally flips how we understand the universe around us. We're so conditioned to think that the massive, big things in the world are the most real, and that our inner self is just this tiny, insignificant speck. But think about a massive tree for a second, a towering oak with thousands of branches. Where did all of that come from? It all originated from one tiny, compact seed. This simple fact of nature proves the point perfectly. The vast outer world originates entirely from a very small inner source. The inner side is the basis, and the outer side is just the result of it. Consider a potter making a clay pot. They start with a solid ball of clay, right? There is no inside, there is no outside. But when they spin the wheel, what is the very first action they take? They press their thumb into the center to create a small inner cavity. It is literally impossible to create the outside of the pot without creating the inside first. The inside dictates the existence of the outside. Because of this, the text draws a hard line between two distinct sides of existence. The subjective inner side, the andraya, is our inner shrine. It's the true source and origin of everything. On the flip side, the bahyam is the outer objective side. We spend pretty much our entire lives obsessed with the bahyam, mistakenly believing that the outer world is the true reality, when in fact it's just a reflection of the inner source. And that brings us to part 5, Mastathataka Jhana, returning to the source. So, the big question, how do we actually reach this inner shrine and attain real knowledge? Well, we actually get a hint of this process every single night. The text reminds us that when we sleep deeply, the world vanishes entirely. Why? Because our jiva, our life force, is resting safely inside us. It's not projecting outward. The world only reappears when that energy flows outward through our senses the moment we wake up. To find that reality while we're wide awake, we've got to practice what the text calls Mastaka Jhana, the knowledge of the head. Now, this is not book smarts. This is an active, conscious practice where we literally pull our life force back inward. Instead of letting our energy scatter into the external world of endless distractions and desires, we deliberately direct it back to its source inside of us. And when you do this, you actually rouse your vital inner root, which the text calls your dhatu. When you study the self internally, when you do that true aksharabhyasa we talked about, you enlighten this vital root. And this leads you to the ultimate state of sarvajna, where you become all-knowing. But remember, you don't become all-knowing by gathering a bunch of external facts. You become all-knowing by perfectly understanding the inner source from which all facts and all realities originate. Which leaves us with one final, pretty profound question to wrap up this explainer. The Siddha Veda makes it incredibly clear that the answers just aren't out there. So, will you keep searching for the truth in the chaotic outside world, fighting over the taste of bananas you haven't eaten and reading endless stacks of books? Or is it finally time to turn your energy inward, clear the smoke from your mental chimney, and discover the entire universe shining brightly right inside of you? The choice of where to look is entirely yours.